The goal of this webinar is to take you through the 10 forms table. And for people who are not familiar, the 10 forms table is a table of the most common verb forms in Arabic. Let me share this again with you. Can everybody see that? Okay. So the 10 forms table is something that's crucial to your Arabic career. It helps us recognize words and the meaning of words. And there's really a very simple formula for understanding words in Arabic. It is, if you know the root meaning, which requires some vocabulary, and you know the pattern meaning, then you'll know the word meaning without having to resort to a dictionary. Now, there must be dictionary work at the beginning level and at the upper advanced levels, right? So we can't avoid dictionary work. But when you're reading, you can guess, and that's the beauty of the Arabic language. It's based on forms. And so you, for example, you know that form 7 is a passive, meaning it has a noon, and you know the root letter. The root letter meaning, if you know these two, you can figure out what the word means without even having to look it up. Okay, so why learn the 10 forms? The 10 forms we need to vocalize and read accurately. Okay, so that's the main thing, to vocalize properly, meaning the internal vowels and the external vowel. So the internal vowels of the sarf and the external vowel of the i'rab. And that'll of course help us translate. So let's look at this table. Now, the first thing, when we say the 10 forms, form 1, form 2, form 3, form 10, this numbering of the forms is not native to Arabic. This numbering of the form is not native to Arabic. It's something that was added for Western learners of Arabic. Okay, so it's something that the Orientalists added to help us learn Arabic. And so we need it. Now, there's no such thing really as, for example, wazan thani, wazan ashir. This is something that is new vocabulary, but we needed to, for example, use the Hansver dictionary. Right? This is something that'll help us and to discuss grammar. So we have 10 forms. Form 1 is the base verb, which means there's nothing added to the actual verb. Okay? There's nothing added to the actual verb. Like, for example, if you look at form 2, we have a shadda. We have a shadda in the form 2, fa'ala. Okay, in form 3, we've added alif. In form 5, we have extra ta. In form 1, there's no additions. So this is called the base verb. In Arabic, they call this al-mujarrad, thulathi. So let's go through the columns. I'm going to explain what these columns are, what they mean, and we'll go through some of the forms here. So fi'l mad. Fi'l mad is a past tense verb. There's a past tense conjugation. And fi'l mudari is a present tense conjugation, the present tense verb. So you'll notice in the fi'l mad, let's zoom up here, the verb here, the fa'in lam is basically just a paradigm for the 3 root letters. I can say fa'ala, fa'ila, or fa'ula. These are the 3 options of a past tense verb. You'll notice either it takes a fatha, or a kasra, or a dhamma. Okay? That's a fi'l madi. And depending on the verb, it has an appropriate present tense that goes with the past tense. So in the present tense, I can say yaf'alu, yaf'ilu, or yaf'ulu. Again, depending on the verb. Okay, and this goes back to the different bab of the verb, right? We study the babs in our essentials course. It's the combination of the past tense to present tense. So, for example, if we have something like for example, daraba. Daraba means to strike. And so in daraba, the mudari of daraba is yadribu, right? Daraba yadribu. It's not daraba yadrubu, right? It's daraba yadribu. Or we say, for example, kataba yaktubu. Kataba yaktubu. And so here it's a dhamma in the mudari. Okay. And then for even some verbs, you have dhamma in the madi and the mudari. You have a dhamma in the madi and the mudari. So you would say something like sharuf yashrufu. Sharufa yashrufu. So this is the bab. right? And this is found by looking it up in Hans Ver, right? فَعُلَ يَفْعُلُ. Okay. So this is the Madi and the Mudare. In fact, the first three columns are verbs. So just to give you a bird's eye view of this, the first three columns are verbs. أفعال, فعل ماضي, فعل مضارع, فعل أمر. فعل ماضي is the past tense. فعل مضارع is the present tense. فعل الأمر, this is a command tense. Okay, the command tense, imperative. And the command tense is taken from the mudare, meaning forming the command tense, the fi'l al-amr, is taken from the mudare. So if I have, for example, yadribu, okay, daraba yadribu, the amr would be idrib, yadribu, idrib, yaktubu, to write, yaktubu, uktub, yaktubu, uktub, and dhahaba yadhabu, with a fatha, يذهب becomes idhab, idhab. So you notice that the vowel, the haraka on the ain letter, which is the second root letter in the amr, will be the same haraka in the mudare, in the present tense. So the amr is derived from the mudare. Okay, the fi'l amr, the command tense. So we have past, present, and command, imperative, which is also really like the future, right? The real future is the amr is only the action is only taken once the command is given. Right? The action is only taken once the command is given. So these first three categories are the fi'l al-amr. Okay. Well, what about the next three? The next three, these last three are nouns, asma, right? We know that in Arabic there are only three parts of speech: ism, fi'l, and harf. So the first three are fi'l, and the next three are isms. Okay, so then we have al-masdar, and the al-masdar is really the verbal noun, right? The pure action itself, without any attachment to a tense. So we have an ism, an action, without any action, without any connection to a tense. So al-masdar. It says here varied for form 1 because the base verb is varied. The masdar is varied. So meaning that there's no set pattern. So you'll note later on that there are set patterns for the higher forms. When I say higher forms, I mean forms 2 through 10. But form 1, the base form, has no set pattern. For example, you say darasa yadrusu dirasatan, jalasa yajlisu julusan, dhahaba yadhabu dhahaban, and daraba yadribu darban. So if you notice, these are all different patterns. Dirasatan, fi'ala, julus, fu'ul, dhahab, darb, fa'al. So they're varied patterns. How do you know? How can you figure out what the masdar is? Can anyone tell me? How do I figure out what the masdar is of a form 1 verb? You can type it in the chat box. How do I know the action, the verbal noun? The masdar is a verbal noun. How can I figure out what is a verbal noun of a form 1 verb? Yeah, good, Fahad. Okay, have a look up in a dictionary, right? So you have to look it up in a dictionary, right? There's really, it's near impossible to figure out what is the possible masdar pattern for a form 1 verb. Now, I'm not going to say it's impossible because the grammarians really have given some indications that you can figure out a masdar based on its pattern and also what it means. So you have to kind of know what the verb means. And now, so you have, for example, I'll just give you an example of what that means. And this is studied not at the early stages, studied at the later stages. For example, things that indicate movement. Okay, things that indicate movement are on the pattern, the masdar pattern, alan. Okay, on the masdar pattern, alan. So the masdar pattern fa'alan it'd be like this, fa'alan. And so we have things like jawalan. And jawalan means to wander around a lot. Or tawafan. Sorry, my new keyboard here. Anyway, I'll just tawafan, jawalan, ghalayan. Ghalayan is boiling, right? Fayadan are like floods that move, right? Okay, so there is a way, but that's more advanced level sarf. By the way, what the topic what we're doing today, Arabic is really made of two sciences: an-nahu wa sarf. An-nahu is declension, the grammar based on the endings of words, and sarf. And sarf is basically the morphology, the changing of the patterns of words, individual words. And that's what sarf is, right? So we're studying sarf, morphology. Okay, so we have the master, which you have to look up in form 1. You have to look it up. And for higher forms, as you see, there are patterns that are just memorized. The patterns are just memorized, just similar to the present tense verbs and the past tense verbs and the fi'l amr, the command tense. For all higher forms are memorized. Form 1 is what you just have to know, right? They're called as sama'i, thing that you have to hear. Ismul fa'al and ism maf'ul. Okay. So the ismul fa'il, right? The ismul fa'il is in English we call this active participle. Okay, active participle. So this means the person who does the masdar, the entity that carries out the action of the masdar. So we have, for example, the masdar kitabatan. Kataba yaktubu is to write. Kitabatan is writing, the act of writing, or to write, right? And so the active participle is katib. We basically put the root kataba in the fa'il pattern. And so you have katib, okay? Katib, the writer. It's a person who does the kitaba, the writer, right? The writing is a writer. And then the ism maf'ul we call the passive participle. The passive participle is the entity upon which the masdar is done to, okay? So the ism maf'ul for kitaba, which means writing, would be maf'ul, okay? It would be maf'ul, all right? Or sorry, for the kataba it would be maktub. Maktub means something that's written, right? Maktub. So you have a katib, which is a writer, and maktub, which is written, the thing which is written. Okay, that's what a ism maf'ul is, a passive participle. Okay, the passive participle. Good. Now we have the ismul fa'al for most verbs. We do not necessarily have the ism maf'ul for all verbs. Okay, and so why is that? It is because it depends on whether the verb is transitive or intransitive, right? Whether the verb is transitive or intransitive, okay? Now, can someone tell me what is a transitive verb or what is an intransitive verb? So first says transitive takes direct object. Okay, very good, right? And intransitive does not take direct object. Okay, very good. So the transitive verb is something that takes an object, right? Like Ziad says, eat. Okay, good. So in Arabic, akala, right? We have akala, yakulu, to eat. And just like in English, you say, I ate the bread, he ate the bread, right? Similarly, in Arabic, it's transitive. You say, akala, right? Al khubza. Where is it? Yeah. Okay. So al khubza is the maf'ul bihi. It's the maf'ul bihi mansub. So the maf'ul bihi mansub is the direct object in the accusative case. Okay, it's the direct object in the accusative case. So that's the maf'ul bihi. Okay, and so the verb, how do you say transitive in Arabic? Can anyone tell me how I say transitive in Arabic? Fi'l muta'addi. Good. Fahad writes in the chat box. He says fi'l muta'addi. And that's exactly what it is, right? Muta'addi, it's interesting. It actually means to cross over, which has the same meaning as in English transitive, right? Ta'adda means to cross over. And in fact, it can, the word adu, which means an enemy, is also from the same, the root adawa is from the same word, adu, okay, which means to cross over in somebody's land. Okay, so transitive means it takes a direct object. Okay, how do I say intransitive? Anybody other than Fahad? Good. Okay, Ziad. So fi'l lazim means intransitive. Okay, it doesn't take a direct object. Okay, so for example, we have words like, you would say nama. Nama means to sleep, right? Even in English, I say he slept, right? I don't say he slept bed, right? And similarly, you don't say nama as-sarira, right? You would say nama ala sarir, nama ala sarir. Okay, and so there is an overlap. There is an overlap how we use transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Okay, good. So why bring that up? Why is it important to know whether a verb is transitive or intransitive? Only transitive verbs, right, take a direct object. And so the ism maf'ul is only made from transitive verbs, okay? The ism maf'ul is only formed from transitive verbs. So we say kataba, maktub. Maktub is something that's written, but you don't, for example, jalasa means to sit, it's intransitive. We don't say majlus, okay? We don't say majlus. Or daraba, to strike. Madrub is something that's struck. You have the darib and you have the madrub, okay? Which is struck. Okay. Everybody can hear me fine? Can everybody hear me? Yes, good. Okay. So I'll just pause for a few minutes midway point to take any questions about the topic that we're doing, which is really technical stuff. Other questions we can answer later on, but any questions on what we've done so far? Any questions here? What is a direct object? Okay, so a direct object is basically something that is the recipient of an action. Okay, what does that mean? So for example, if you say I read, right? Whatever you're reading is called the direct object. So I read the book. The book is a direct object in English, right? I ate bread. Bread is a direct object. Okay. It's whatever the noun that is a recipient of the action. So bread is a recipient of the eating, right? The action is done to it. Okay. I like figs, for example. Figs are the direct object. Okay, does that make sense? A direct object in Arabic is called maf'ul bihi. Okay, good. Any other questions? Okay, we'll continue. All right, so you have so we're saying that the ism maf'ul is really formed from muta'addi verbs. Okay, all right, now let's move on. So this is form one. Form one is the base verb. Sorry, one second. Form one is the base verb. And now we move to form two. So higher forms, form two, causation and emphasis. This is the common meaning of form two. What is form two? Form two has an extra shadda on the ayn letter. So note that, please. You have the fa'in, fa'al. Okay, and then note there's a set pattern of the mudari, yufa'ilu. So whole discussion of babs, if you're familiar with, whether it's daraba yadribu in form one, nazala yanzilu, kataba yaktubu, this bab discussion is only for the form one verb. Higher forms are on set patterns. The bab does not enter into the higher forms, which means they're already on a set pattern. So for example, you have fa'al, and in form two, fa'al. So for example, darasa, to study, darasa yadrusu is to study. But darrasa yudarrisu means to teach. Or for that matter, alima. Alima means to know. Alima ya'lamu means to know. Allama yu'allimu means to teach again, right? So you'll note that the discussion of the babs that take place in form one doesn't apply to form two, which means even though alima in the madi, alima means to know, he knew, takes a kasra on the ayn letter, alima, the lam, the alima, right? In form two, allama are all fatha. Fatha on the fa letter is called the fa letter, ayn letter, lam letter. The first root letter, the second root letter, and the third root letter. We know that Arabic is formed from, all Arabic verbs are from three root letters: the fa letter, ayn letter, and lam letter. Okay, good. So there's allama, yu'allimu, allim, right? It means to teach. That means causation. So you're causing the person to know, or darrasa yudarrisu, you're causing the person to study, right? Darasa, if darasa in form one means to study and you cause the person to study, we say darrasa, means to cause the person to study. Okay, or fariha means to be happy, joyous. Farra, you're causing the person to be happy, meaning you're pleasing him. فرح يفرح التفريح. Okay, علم يعلم تعليم. Okay, تعليم. Okay, درس يدرس التدريس. Okay, so there are set patterns. فعل يفعل فاعل. And then note the masdar has two options, تفعيلا وتفعلة. You have تفعيلا is your regular masdar, and then you have تفعلة. For this, at this stage, if this is new to you, you should just know تفعيلا. This is the most common one. تدريسا, تعليم, right? تبليغ. تفعلة is for irregular verbs like تربية, تزكية. So if you think of تزكية, تزكية means purification. So in form one is zaka yazku, which means to be pure, right? The word zakat is from that, something that is pure, zaka yazku. But zakka yuzakki, this is an irregular verb, so you may not be familiar, but zakka yuzakki, it means to make something pure, to purify. So tazkiyatan we translate as purification, okay? Or tarbiyah, right? Tarbiyah means, tarbiyat al-awlad is the child rearing, rearing of children, tarbiyah, tazkiyah, okay? The talbiyah, you know, when someone says, it's from labba yulabbi, when someone is going to Umrah or Hajj and say, labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, right? This saying labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, this is called the talbiyah. The talbiyah. It's on this pattern. It's a masdar form too. Okay. The masdar form too. So there are two masdars. You just have to know tafi'il. And then you have the ism al-fa'il and the ism maf'ul. Okay. Mufa'il, mufa'al. So you have mu'allim and mu'allam. Now mu'allim is a teacher, right? Someone who does the act of teaching, the act of ta'lim. Okay. Allama yu'allimu. Now, mu'allam, is that a word that is used? Not really. It theoretically it makes sense because a mu'allam would be a person who is taught. Right? You have the teacher and the student, but we don't use mu'allam. We use talib. Right? We use talib for the ism, the person who is studying. Okay, so that's form two. Okay, let's look at form three. Okay. Form three, sharing in form one. Okay, so when you see form three, fa'ala, yufa'ilu, fa'il, this has extra alif, and it means that two people are doing the action, but there's an emphasis on the person who started the action. Okay, so for example, we'll say qatala, that's a form three. Let me get used to this new keyboard. Qatal Zaydun is supposed to be a dal here. We'll have to use a different name. So we'll say Khalid. Well, that also has a dal. Okay. So anyway, so let's just say Qatala Nasir. That's okay. Okay. Qatal the Ra. Here we go. Qatala Nasirun. Okay. Qatala Nasirun. Who did he fight? He fought somebody. Okay. Let's say we say he fought somebody. Okay. So let's see. Here we go. Fulan. Okay. He fought somebody. All right. Fulan basically means so and so in Arabic. Fulan means so and so. So it means Nasir. Here, Nasir is a person. Okay. We're saying Nasir fought so and so. Okay. Here, what does the form three indicate? The form three is indicating that Nasir fought Fulan, so and so, and this somebody, he fought back. Okay. But Nasir is winning, okay, in the fight. All right. So, okay, so how do I know he's winning in the fight? Is because Nasir is the fa'il. Nasir is the fa'il. Okay, and basically that means he's the doer of the verb. Okay, he's the doer of the verb. And he's winning or he began the fight. Okay, so form three, the fa'il can indicate two things. Either Nasir began the fight or he's winning in the fight, right? So Nasir fought Fulan. Fulan is kind of fighting back, but he's not really as successful as Nasir. Okay, so this is called sharing in the form one. Okay, fighting each other in this case. Okay, so now you notice form three also has two masdars, mufa'alatan and fi'alan, and so you should know both of these. You should know both of the two masdars. For example, I'll give you other verbs with fa'ala. Besides qatala, you have jahada, right? To do jihad. Jahada, yujahidu, jahid. Mujahada. So most people are familiar with that word, jihad, right? Mujahada. They both are masdars. Mujahadatan وجهادا. Okay, so you have both, just like مقاتلة and قتالا are both masters. Mujahada and jihad, and then mujahid is the person who does jihad, right? So mujahid is the ism al-fa'al. The ism maf'ul doesn't really, we don't use the ism maf'ul, mujahad, right? We don't really use that. Okay. Other words, that are on the form 3 are something like raqaba. Raqaba yuraqibu means to observe. Okay, the masdar is muraqaba. Muraqaba, that's the masdar of form 3. Now, do we have riqab as a masdar form 3? We don't. We don't say riqab as a masdar for form 3. Okay, riqab in fact is a different word. It's a plural of raqaba, which is necks. But muraqaba means observance, right? So when you're, if you're in an Arab world and you're speeding, right, there may be like a sign that says, watch out, speed cameras, right? That they'll say muraqaba, right? Observance. Okay. So that's a form 3 masdar, muraqaba. And muraqib, you could guess, is person who's observing, right? Muraqib. And muraqab is somebody who is being observed. Okay, somebody who is being observed. All right. Okay, good. Let's move down to form 4. Okay, now form 4 is form 4. You'll see is causation. Okay, so we saw this in form 2 as well. Causation here, causation there. So form 4 often means causation, and that's the common meaning. And so there is often form 2 and form 4 both is causation. So, for example, you have some verbs that are in both form 2 and form 4. Some roots like nazala. So nazala, to descend. Right? If I can say nazala yunazzilu tanzil, right? Nazala means to send down. It means the original meaning is to make something come down, right? But it can also mean to reveal, tanzil. And anzala yunzilu inzal, the same thing, to make something come down, or again, to reveal. Okay, something that is revealed is munzal. Okay, munzal. Okay, so you have anzala yunzilu inzal. Okay, and so you have two verbs. You have nazzala and you have anzala. All right, so they both mean to reveal or to send down. So what's the difference? Right. So this question, what's the difference between these two words that have the same meaning, is really the realm of balagha. So there are 3 main sciences in Arabic. There's sarf, which is morphology, looking at the individual word patterns. We kind of zoom out, and then there's nahu, which is grammar, looking at the endings of words and how these words relate to other words in the sentence. And finally, after you've studied nahu, sarf and nahu, you study balagha, which is, they often translate as a rhetoric or the Arabic eloquence, right? The eloquence of the Quranic Arabic. And that is what makes the Quran a linguistic miracle. It's the beautiful, the eloquence about how every single word is put for a certain reason. Okay, so we have in the Quran both nazzala and anzalna. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. So anzalna, truly, verily it is we revealed it. Inna anzalnahu. So here, what's the difference between then revealing with anzala and nazzalna, right? So how would I know? Well, you would look at a linguistic tafsir, at a tafsir, which is an explanation of the Quran. And the best tafsirs, the best commentaries on the Quran are linguistic tafsirs, because after all, the Quran is a linguistic miracle, and so you have to know the language to appreciate it, and balagha is a means to that. So they'll mention that anzala means to send down something in one go, as opposed to nazzala means gradually and over time. Okay, so inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, verily we revealed it in the night of power. So we revealed it once, in one time, in Laylatul Qadr, right? As opposed to gradually over several years as a prophecy. Okay? Anyway, that's a part of tafsir that hopefully everyone gets a chance to read and appreciate. But you have to know your nahu and sarf to get there. But really, that's where the fruits of the Quran are. Okay, so that's form 4. We're almost out of time, but let's look at a couple of things. You'll notice form 4 has this hamza, all right, that we write in Arabic. Whereas if you go down in forms 7 through 10, you'll see there's a alif, but there's no hamza, right? And so this is part of the writing. Like you'll recognize the word just by knowing, okay, I know form 4 takes this hamza with the actual hamza. And but form 7 through 10 don't take it. They begin with a kasra, right? Infal, ifta'ala, if'alla, istaf'ala. So you can see we've added, as we go along, we add stuff. So in form 7, or in fact from form 5, we start adding more than one different letter. In form 5, we have a ta and a shadda. Form 6, we have a ta and an alif. In form 7, we have a alif here and a noon, in fa'ala, like in kasara. And then we have in form 8, a ta, like ijtama'a, ikhtalafa. Form 9, we have an alif and a shadda on the lam, like ihmarra, darra. In form 10, now this has a alif and a sin and a ta, right? Istakhdama, ista'mala, istaghfara. To do istighfar is to seek forgiveness from Allah, right? So this is seeking and believing in the form 1. So in form 1, we'll just take this as a last example. In form 1, we have ghafara yaghfiru, and ghafara yaghfiru means to forgive, right? Rabbi ghfirli, right? Ghafara lahu, he forgave him. Rabbi ghfirli, Allah, or my Lord, forgive me. And ghufran or maghfirah is to forgive, forgiveness. That's form 1, ghafara, Allah forgives his servant. Now in form 10 is seeking forgiveness. This ist sound, ist, begins this meaning of to seek. So we have istaghfara, is to seek forgiveness from Allah. Istaghfara yastaghfiru, istaghfir. Istaghfara yastaghfiru, istaghfir. So, and then we have, of course, mustaghfir and mustaghfir, right? Istighfar is forgiveness, right? You're seeking the ghufran, seeking the maghfirah, okay? And so if I know that istafala means seeking, and I know ghafara or ghufran or maghfirah means to forgive, then I can say, okay, this seeking the forgiveness. This is how the forms work. The advantage of knowing the forms is, if you know, again, this is a very simple equation that'll help you tons in Arabic reading, is you know the root meaning, right? You need to know the meaning of the fa'in lam letters, and you know the pattern meaning. You're familiar with the 10 forms, which is crucial to your Arabic career. Then you know the word meaning, okay? You'll know the word meaning. Now, these common meanings are at the beginning, we learned that these are common meanings. As you study later on, you'll find you'll explore other meanings that are other than the common ones for the same form. And this is done later on, but this is a good base. And this is a good base to begin with. Okay, so I'm going to pause there and let's look at the questions, or I can hand the mic over to Naseem. Naseem, tafadali.
Assalamu alaikum, Ustad Yusuf. Okay, there's a question here.
If it's a technical question, I can answer it.
Yeah, it's a question regarding Form 1, darasa. Will always be darasa, not dirasa.
Right, okay.
With different meaning.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just scroll to it. Right, so darasa, sorry. Let me just go to it so I can answer it intelligibly. Okay, darasa will all darasa, not darisa. Correct. Okay, this is good. This is a very good question, Abrar. This goes into so sometimes you can have more than one bab. Okay, so having more than one bab, you would have to look it up. And some verbs, there are more than one way to pronounce it. There's more than one way. Okay, and like for example, qadima and qaduma. So qadima would mean to approach, right? Somebody is qadim, somebody's approaching. And qaduma, which means to be old, to be qadim. And so this goes back to the dictionary. Okay, sometimes you have more than one way to pronounce it, and there's no difference in meaning. There's more than one way to pronounce it, and there's no difference in meaning. Okay, so why would that happen? That would happen when it goes back to the ancient tribes, where one tribe said it this way and another tribe said it another way. Both of them are pure Fusha. They're both classical Arabic, and they have come to our time now, and we can use either one of them. Okay. Okay. Any other question?
Yes, Ustad, there was another question from Asim on how to increase Arabic vocab. Guess that's about memorization, maybe?
Right. Okay. So yeah. So increasing Arabic vocabulary also depends on which stage. Really, there's, memorization is part of language. There's no shortcut to not memorizing. So sorry to tell you guys, you do have to memorize stuff. Okay. I mean, you're learning an ancient language, which is probably is the richest language. I mean, one of the richest languages in the world in regards to human traits, right? So you do have to memorize. Now, I suggest you have realistic expectations. So, you memorize whatever you're able to, the more the merrier, right? So memorize, let's say 10 words a day. You should memorize 10 words a day. You can, when I was studying, let's do 3 nouns, 3 verbs, 3 particles or constructions. Okay, but that's minimum. That's a minimum. You can do 5, 10, 15 words. It's something you have to memorize, and you incorporate it into your language, so into your writing and into your speaking. So that's at the beginning levels. You're memorizing often lists and doing that. The higher words, how you develop vocabulary, you just read. At the higher levels, you just read and you look up words in the dictionary. So you look up the words in the dictionary, and the more effort you put in, the more you'll remember. Which means you open up a physical copy of the Hans Ver and you look it up in the dictionary. It seems like it'll stick better than if you take just few seconds, like 10 seconds looking up online. And by the way, don't use Google Translate for your classical Arabic. Use other dictionaries, or even Hanswear online. That's how I would do it. And don't just be like one. Don't approach classical Arabic with one angle. Although the focus is reading, you have to read. You have to listen. So you have to listen to durus. You have to listen to lessons in Arabic especially at the intermediate to higher levels. But vocabulary is really just building it, writing sentences with it is something that we do in the other courses.
There's
There's
another question. Oh, sorry, Ustad Yusuf. There's another question. Any advice on memorizing verbs specifically? There's a question before that by Ziad. What is the mutual sharing in Form 6?
Okay. So verb specifically, yeah. So look up the verb and the bab. You have the correct verb and the voweling, and just write a couple of sentences. One in the past tense, present tense, a command, and use it in speech. And also write it. You have to combine all this writing and reading and using it in speech. There's when you see, very important, when you see words that you don't know, look them up. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore words when you're reading that you don't know. And if you and it should be you should be reading at your level, which means if you have to look up, like spend too much time in looking up words, like you're spending an hour or so, and you don't understand half the words, that means the text that you're reading is maybe above your level. You need to read something a little bit at your level to gain that confidence and fluency. With mutual sharing in Form 6, that basically means that both actors are doing the action equally and there's no emphasis on either one. So something like tabadala, which means to exchange equally. Tabadala Zaydun Khalidun ar-risaila. So Zayd and Khalid mutually exchange letters. Or taqatala is to mutually fight each other. It means that no one person is winning, but there's no emphasis on one person, but they both are doing it to each other. Okay, so I think that's enough for the questions. I'll just thank you everybody for attending. Naseem will address any other future questions. تفضلي Naseem.
Jazakumullah khair, Ustad Yusuf. And Jazakallah khair to each of you for attending. I pray you found this class beneficial. And I just wanted to let you know that this class is actually a part of one of our core courses, which our next course will begin in January 2024, which is the Certificate of Ijaza in Arabic Grammar Essentials. We will also have a Certificate in Ijaza Arabic Grammar Intermediate for those who passed this level. Also in January 2024, we have a new advanced guided reading course. The link for these you will find on our course menu at Grammica Institute. Finally, I just wanted to let you know we also offer private tutoring, a private tutoring option for individuals and for groups, where you can choose the book you want to study, the time you want to study, etc. For this, please feel free to contact us at contact@grammica.institute. Are there any more questions before we close?
Also, any audio questions, if you're more comfortable voicing your questions as opposed to typing it. Okay, so this is natural, like to learn. I'm just going to answer the question in English just so others.
لا تفضل. I'm sorry.
So that's fine. So it's the learning. Part of learning is forgetting, or I should say, forgetting is part of learning. So concept, and you forget it, and then you learn it again, and you forget it. This happens a lot at every level. So and that's why even at the advanced levels, you're still going to be looking up verbs like the bab or the masdar of a verb. So you know the verb, you know what it means, but you don't remember, is it يفعل or فعل يفعل? And so you open that Hans ver and you look up for the 10th time that same verb and you get it down. But it's something that it happens again and again for a lot of people. So you're not alone in that. It's just something that, and there'll be a point where you'll get it. It'll stick. So it's so forgetting is it's just part of the process. They say, and I don't, like learning Arabic is difficult for the first 10 years. Okay, and that's more like a joke, meaning you're studying something that it's a, the good things in life are not usually very easy, and they take time, and so it is something that takes time, but it's part of learning. For your certificate of Ijaza in Arabic grammar, intermediate level, what level does it cover? Is it past Ajrumiyya or this level? Okay, so no, the content is past this level. This is the stuff that we did at the 10 forms table is mostly for the essentials. Intermediate level, you're going a little bit past the Ajrumiyya, and you're learning things like amal ism, how nouns act like verbs. You're learning types of jumla, types of jumal that have a mahal, jumal that don't have a mahal. You're learning ta'alluq, how do jar majroors connect with other things in the sentence to actions. You're learning the sarf of irregular verbs. Okay, so verbs with weak endings or double root letters. And finally, you're applying some of these things that you learn on actual text. You're going to begin to do that. And that's what the intermediate level certification is for. Okay, we have to close up. Thank you everyone for attending. I hope you'll take advantage of the new courses that are coming up. Please feel free to email us with any questions, and certainly through our web newsletter, Grammica Weekly, you do get tips and on how to improve your Arabic. And let us know if you're looking for certain things to be explained. We can create little videos for that. And I look forward to seeing you at next webinar. We will have an advanced webinar in a few weeks. This is tailored more to the students who have studied a bit of grammar and now just applying it. So look forward to that. We'll be sending out an email shortly. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Ma salama.